Welcome to Faces of Parkinson's. I'm Robert Cochran, and I'm joined today by Gavin. Gavin, how are you?
I'm doing great. How about you, Robert?
I'm doing well, thanks. Gavin, I got the chance to know you a little bit. You're down there in a town called Richardson, is that right, Texas?
Richardson, right outside Dallas.
Right outside of Dallas. And I got to know you via Samantha Ellendary over there at the Parkinson Voice Project. Um, Tell me a little bit about what your relationship is with Samantha, and then tell me about what's going on in Dallas, because it sounds like there's a lot of good things in your community.
Yeah, so Parkinson Voice Project is Samantha's organization, and it's less than a mile from my home, so I could jog up there in about 15 minutes. So it's crazy that they have this world known facility for Parkinson's within jogging distance of my home. So one day my wife passed by there, said, "Hey, my husband has Parkinson's. What's this about?" She went in there, talked to him, started volunteering, and eventually worked there part time. So I got to know Samantha very well, and I'm about to go through her training program starting next week, in fact. So definitely looking forward to that. Helped me to speak with intent, and many other things. She's a great person, just gold in the community. And as far as what's going on here in Dallas, well, probably the usual things that you see in the Parkinson's community. It's fairly active, but one of the problems is, we probably have 10, 15,000 people in the area with Parkinson's, but we have maybe a few hundred people kind of rotate around to the same events.
Now that's very interesting. Let me jump on that for a moment, because I think you and I have talked offline about that. Now I do want to focus on that. I see something similar in our community, and I imagine it is nation and perhaps worldwide, that there we understand, at least by numbers and percentages, these thousands plus how many people should be there, and yet so many are either living in the shadows or undiagnosed or whatever it is. What do you do, if anything, at this point to try to reach out to people to say there's help that can make your life better if you get involved?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think we all struggle with that. Me as a personal trainer, that's the people I want to reach. So the ones that are already in exercise classes, I call that the low-hanging fruit. They have exercise classes, they're doing pretty well, they're socializing, but who I want to reach is all these other people, the 8 out of 10 or the 9 out of 10 people that really aren't doing anything, or that don't have anything regular, or don't have kind of a maintenance program. So how do you reach them? And I was talking to a neurologist about this the other day, because I think if anyone they can reach them, they know who those people are. But so if they can tap them into the resources that they need, they can kind of they can help the community out to get those people in the programs that they need. But reaching them, I think it's tough, because so many don't want to come out, so many are afraid to come out, so many don't feel like coming out, and then a lot of them are just kind of in nursing homes or really up in age, and we're not going to be able to get them out very, very often.
So there's a dichotomy, obviously, within the community, right? I mean, you yourself, you've been diagnosed for how long?
10 years.
10 years, and if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 48, so I was diagnosed at 38 years old.
All right. We're sharing that 48, my friend. So so you've been diagnosed certainly in the young onset spectrum, and like you say, there are different needs for people early on, and who get it in the young onset versus those, like, I mean, my dad was technically early onset when he was diagnosed at 59, but certainly 15, 16 years in, as he is at this point, at 74, he is in a different category. He's still active, but like you say, Parkinson's is not a one size fits all.
No, in fact, the saying is, if you've met one person with Parkinson's, you've met one person with Parkinson's. I don't even think that's true. I think if you met one person with Parkinson's, you haven't even met one person with Parkinson's, because they're so different, even through the course of a day or the course of a medication cycle, from day to day. They're so different, and so that's one approach I want to take with personal training, is to put the personal in it and really understand that person's goals, needs, desires, problems, and because you have these great varieties in ages of diagnosis, stages of diagnosis, and levels of motivation. So it's so different across the board. Really hard to generalize much of anything with Parkinson's, and then different uh, types of onset. onset. There are causes of onset that they're now, I think, discovering with Parkinson's.
Yeah. Now, how does it serve you to serve others, especially because you're coming from that position that probably helps people jump in where they might otherwise be nervous? I know from doing some clinical trial recruiting, what helps me is to be able to say, hey, for those who are nervous about getting involved, my dad has Parkinson's. It's a very personal thing for me. I can tell it from that angle, but you get to tell it from an even more personal angle because you're dealing with that. What does it do for you, and how does that narrative go when you tell people, I've got this too?
Yeah, that's a good question. So when I became a personal trainer, when I decided this is what I'm going to do, it was earlier this year, and I felt like that was a big strength where I could connect with people. Is I know what you're going through. I can relate to what your symptoms are, how you feel, what you need, how you're going to feel once you get through an exercise program. But even that I've found is hard to connect with a person because you might can relate to them, but still getting them out to do these things that they need to do is such a struggle. And so, for example, I went to a meeting last week and I was given 5 minutes to talk to this group of people, probably 100 people, most of them with Parkinson's. And the people were interested, and I passed out my card, and I talked to probably a dozen people after the meeting who said, yes, I'm going to call you. And I said, please call. I'm ready to work out whenever you are. Here's my card. And a week's gone by now, and I've got 0 phone calls.
Wow.
So that tells me something. Maybe I'm not good at closing deals, but obviously I need to do better at finding ways to connect and get them at the very critical time, because once you let them get out of your sight, I think it becomes too easy to fall back into old habits, to sort of give up hope, or get into ways you can improve yourself unless you catch them. It's a very difficult demographic, I think, but I feel like I'm learning to better connect all the time. I feel like people need some kind of spark or inspiration to fight against all the many things that can keep them down, that can beat you down when you have an affliction like Parkinson's.
Right. There is a sales element to this, and I know that can be uncomfortable for people who are not in sales or who have only dabbled in it, because sales tend to be very zero-sum type of deals where people jump in and you're either in or you're out, and there could be manipulation. There's people who do it in a porous manner. But also, like you say, if you're coming from a good place, which clearly you are to me, and I know that I feel that way when I'm reaching out to people for the clinical studies, I try to incorporate everything I can to give that confidence and do just like you said, to close in a positive manner. You want to make sure to guide them and say, if you give them too much room, it's very easy in a humanistic way to say, I'll get back to you, or sounds good, I'll call you, and all of a sudden it doesn't happen because life happens, like you say, and all of a sudden that thing, was it really a good deal or was it? I don't know.
Yeah. Can I get you down here to help me sell? Because you sound like you got a pretty good strategy. I do, and I'm not a salesperson. What I'm selling is an authentic me to really care about someone and work out with them and show them what I've gained in my experience and what I've learned in my experience to possibly could help them. And if that doesn't help them, we'll find a way to help them, because exercise has been so beneficial to me. But above that, it's kind of like just a purpose to keep going, a want, finding what it is in someone that sparks that humanity, that element of humanity that makes them connect with someone, and a reason to get up and care about themselves and to care about taking care of themselves for other people's sake, or some reason. Well, I'll say it like this. I was fortunate enough to train in a place called the Adaptive Training Foundation a few years ago. And David Vabora is the founder of the Adaptive Training Foundation. You can look it up online, adaptivetrainingfoundation.org. And he has an ability to connect with people that I've never witnessed before. It's like a charisma that automatically just makes you want to be your best self. And it's that kind of connection, that chemistry he makes with people that rehab facilities can't get. He works with mostly wounded warriors, and they spend VA spends hundreds of millions of dollars to get the kind of results he gets he gives away for free. And so it's not about money. It's not about let me start over. So it's not so much about money. It's not about getting notice or popularity or anything like that. It's just a basic connection with someone at a very human level, and let them know they're cared about, and let them know they're loved. Because I think this society right now, I think you'd agree, is missing that element. It's a very scale. Everyone wants to do things at scale, and no one wants to do things on an individual level anymore. Right. And that's why I appreciate the programs that you're doing, especially with the movies you're making, but also series like this that profile individuals and introduce people to other individuals with that they can relate to and have this commonality with, that make people feel I say give them a feeling of humanity. And I think so many people are feeling that alienation and isolation, and that's where this kind of this lack of motivation comes from, I feel like.
I agree, and you hit on a couple key words there, the isolation in particular, that I think is as chronic a part of the illness as anything else. Well, like I mentioned, I know we're only scratching the surface. There's more I want to do, and we're gonna pick up on this and go further. But by the way, reaching back to what you said about coming to help you, well, I hope I'm doing some help here, because your non-sales sales pitch right there sounded pretty good. We'll certainly put this out, and you go ahead and let everybody know. And whatever I can do to further what you're doing, of course I will, because that's part of my big mission right now, is to connect and do more, and hope to get to Dallas soon to meet you in person, and maybe we can do more work together.
Thank you, Robert, and you are doing a whole lot. And these kind of things, when you come on and you smile and you're happy to talk to people and you want to share people's stories, it's little by little, person by person, it's going to accomplish a mission. I'm convinced of that. I get that feeling. And I really admire the work that you do, and your spirit and the love for your father is heartwarming.
Well, thank you, Gavin. I'm glad that comes through. Hey, you take care. I'll talk to you again soon, okay?
Okay, appreciate it, Robert.
All right. For Faces of Parkinsons, this is Robert Cochran. We'll see you next time.